I really wanted to touch on something that I think is at the core of some struggles and some challenges that leaders face when they feel imposter syndrome, when they feel like they are not good enough, when they feel like maybe they are performative in their role. And I have dealt with imposter syndrome. I think most of us have. If you have stretched yourself at all in any capacity, professionally or personally, you have probably experienced imposter syndrome. And I have worked over the years with a coach out in New Zealand. Her name is Bridget Patton. She's amazing. And in one of my courses with her one time, she said that she wasn't sure that imposter syndrome even existed, that it was even real. And her thought process behind this was that if you watch a baby who is learning to walk, they don't try to walk and then fall down and then that just isn't who I am. It's just not me, just not meant to walk. In fact, the baby will keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, and they will walk and they will stumble and they will fall, and sometimes they will get hurt. And yet they keep just standing up and walking, right? And that is what so many of us do when we go through life is we try a new thing, we stumble, we fall down, we get knocked up, we get bruised, emotionally, probably not usually physically, in the job place. And we just chalk it up to like, it's just not who I am. That is just not meant for me. I can never do that. I can never be that. I can never accomplish that. It's not who I am as a leader. And then we believe that fallacy so deeply and so strongly that we start operating out of that space. We start letting that just be our foundational truth. And then when something comes up and someone's like, hey, can you maybe, start doing this thing differently? Because we can see how the team would benefit from that happening. We hear things like, no, this is who I am. This is how I run the ship. Personally, in your relationships, it shows up as don't change me, right? Don't change who I am. And that's because we have some kind of identity belief, and we believe anything outside of that is an imposter. And that very rarely works towards our advantage. It never works towards our growth. And if you are in a leadership position, it will absolutely keep you stuck and keep you not being promoted, not affecting change. And the ship may float, but it won't go anywhere, right? And that's kind of what it looks like when you are buying into those fallacies with imposter syndrome. Now, listen, I want you to think about when you walk into a room and I want you to think about who you are trying to be when you walk into this room. Um, if it's you're leading a meeting with new staff and maybe you want to come across as competent. You want them to feel like and to know that you are the smartest person in the building and that you have the most experience and you know all the things. Or maybe you walk into a meeting where you have to give some difficult feedback to someone on your team, and you walk in wanting to be someone who is a great coach and empathetic and who can see all sides to an issue so that you can get them to greatness. Maybe you walk into a conversation with someone that is really difficult for you at work and you just kind of want to be a bully and you just don't want to take their crap and you want to show up as a person who like stonewalls them and you feel like you can win in that situation. We don't consciously think about these things about how we present in a room and how we show up in this space. We have an identity that we already believe about ourselves, but we don't acknowledge that in these different situations and in these different rooms, we are actually trying to present as someone we want to be and maybe not someone we are. And for a lot of the leaders that I work with, it's a characterized version of themselves, right? It's a performance of leadership because they have a certain outcome they want, and they believe if they play this performance and put on this persona, then they'll get the intended results that they want, right? It might be certain or composed or decisive or unshakable, or the person that always has a plan, or someone who is never caught off guard because they always think about the thing that's going to happen or the next shoe that's going to drop, right? Maybe it's also showing up as the person who doesn't need too much. You're independent and you can handle it, and everyone can depend on you, but you will never depend on them. There's always this kind of mask and character that we are presenting ourselves to be that maybe is not exactly who we are. And you have probably been in situations where this has happened not consciously, but you maybe even were praised for how you handled it, what that presentation looked like, right? That mask that you were wearing. Or maybe you got criticized because you were too empathetic, or you were too hard, or you used the wrong words and you weren't poised enough. And so you adjusted and you changed those sails and you learned how to project this image before you even really felt it or embodied it, or before it was ever actually true for you. And so over time, that starts lending itself to not feeling very authentic in your leadership. It starts lending to saying canned responses because you aren't really sure what you're doing, because the whole thing is a performance, anyways, right? And people can usually see through that. It might work for a time, but after a while, they're going to start being like, yeah, he's going to come in and give us some cliche, and we don't actually know what we're supposed to be doing. Or she comes in and she always seems so poised and so confident. But I know I heard her crying in the bathroom stall next to me yesterday, but she doesn't want anybody to know that. And then you really are just a walking, breathing persona, and not someone who is truly anchored into any kind of authentic leadership. And there's a cost on both sides of this, right? We can't be fully in a room and we can't fully lead if you're always monitoring that performance. And you know you're performing, so you're going to have imposter syndrome happening because this is not truly who you are. You believe you can never get there because it's still just performative. And then you start self-doubting, and it kind of falls apart on the other side of that, between feeling like you have to pretend to be somebody and feeling like you're never really going to be that person. You'll never grow, you'll never accomplish, or you'll never succeed in that skill. It's a lose-lose situation, right? And you're never quite sure which one to pick. Am I buying into the mask that I'm presenting, or I'm buying into the fact that I'm never actually going to be that person? What we don't think about, and what gets missed a lot, is the cost of the people that are in the room with you, the cost of the people on your team, the cost of your peers, the cost and the relationship with your boss. All of those people suffer because you aren't showing up authentically. Now, if you have a character flaw and you lead poorly in a certain way, fix it, right? Like, fix it, but don't mask it. Go get a coach, go watch a YouTube video, or sign up for a class, or get an accountability partner who's in a similar role, right? Find a peer that you trust to help overcome it and actually fix it, so that you can actually show up as that person. Because when you perform certainty that you don't have, that you don't embody, your team is going to see through it, and they're only going to see the performance. You'll know that that's happening because they will not come and ask you questions. They've learned not to bring you solution because you're the always right person. They are not going to be including you in things that happen, because if you're performing, then they're going to feel like they have to perform, and that gets exhausting, and they don't want to do that. But they also stop checking in on you because everything's a performance and you're not giving them real answers, anyways, right? You have signaled that you're fine, which is what we talked about yesterday. And it's not going to work to your advantage to continue to show up in this performative stage, because it will not only ripple outside of you, it will start impacting your team, your peers, your boss, and everyone around you, right? And research on leadership presence, like who you are when you walk in the room, not who you're trying to be, but who you are when you walk in this room, has found that leaders rated the highest in long-term effectiveness when they were not the ones that projected the most confidence. I'm going to say that again. So their teams, their peers, rating them on on the most confidence, on their confidence that they bring into the space, right? They rated highest in long-term effectiveness were not the ones that were showing up with the most confidence. I saw a fascinating study, a video about a fascinating study yesterday, where people that came into an interview and made a mistake, they tripped, they dropped their bag, they slammed the door, they dropped their tissue, whatever it is. When they show up in a space and they make a mistake and then recover, obviously, you're, oh, I'm so sorry, I closed that door so hard, or oh, let me pick that up. I'm sorry, that was gross. Where's your trash can? They got hired more often than people that did not make mistakes. Because we can, even if it's subconsciously, we can read authenticity. We know when people are faking it. So your leadership presence can exude confidence, and that's great, but make it real. Don't be having these imposter syndrome thoughts on the back end of it. Do the work you need to do to feel confident about the thing that you're talking about, the program that you're executing, or whatever it is that you're working on, right? They were the ones that were rated the highest in congruence. Their external presentation matched their internal state. All of us walk around with some level of a BS detector. Let me interpret that that research for you in a different way. We all walk around with some level of a BS detector, and we think we're really good at hiding it, but we're not. So the most trusted leaders are not always going to be the most polished ones. They're consistent. And it gets really exhausting to be consistent when we are putting on a mask and we're being performative. So just let people see what's actually there, right? So it doesn't have to be big, but if you feel like this is you, if you feel like you are trying to embody someone that you really are not as a leader, I want you to just take it down a notch. Take it down by 10%, right? The leaders that I work with, what I have seen happen time and time again is when they let that performance go even just a little bit. I got on my car yesterday and I grabbed my laptop and I like got stuck getting out the door. I don't think anyone saw that happening, but I just stopped and laughed for a second because it was freaking funny. And if I was watching myself do that, I would laugh at myself. It was funny. Just knock the performance down by 10%, right? Just a little bit. Even in the rooms that feel scary, even in the conversations that intimidate, just let yourself be 10% more authentically you and lower that mask just a little bit. What you're going to find is you don't lose your authority. You're actually going to gain it. You are going to feel that differently. It's going to stick. It's going to be something that people start wanting to engage you in conversations. They want to hear what you have to say. They're curious about your thoughts and how you see things differently. You don't have to match the room. You can be the person who comes in the room and sets the tone. And that means being a little bit different and knocking that mask down just a little bit. No one needs you to be perfect. If you want someone who's perfect, you can open up Instagram. You can find lots of examples of perfect. Your team is needing you to be someone that they can trust. And if it's a performance, they can't trust it, right? So be a person without a performance. Be a leader who makes it for the long haul because when you get to show up as yourself, you're not as exhausted. It doesn't drain you as much. You just feel like you get to be yourself, whatever that looks like for you. And then people are like, hey, you seem like a person who's not stressed out. I think I'd like to learn from you. I think I'd like to hang out with you. I think I'd like to sit in that space with you. And that whole mindset will completely shift how you show up in any type of leadership role, in any room that you walk in. Let's be honest. And so when you can see that difference and you can play around with that a little bit, maybe it's too scary to do it all the time. Maybe you pick a room this week that you walk into 10% more without a mask, 10% more authentically, and see what happens. Play around with it, research, right? Now, in just a few days, the nest is closing. and it is closing for good. We are going to launch off our second group. I've already sent out welcome packets to the women who have joined, and I'm so freaking excited for these women leaders to be in this room because guess what? We don't wear masks in this room. We just get to take a deep breath and we get to show up. We're going to learn. There's going to be leadership coaching. You're going to learn all kinds of new skills, amazing things. You're going to have strategies that you are going to absolutely be able to implement in real time. But you get to do it with people who are also doing the same thing. You get to do it with women who care and who also are tired of being performative in their roles. And so we get to share really fun things. We get to share moments that are messy where we get our laptop bag and we trip when we fall out of the car. And we just get to create that safe space with one another so that we can practice showing up without that mask. So every room we walk in, literally for the rest of our lives, is going to feel easier. What we're creating in the space and what I do through my coaching literally lasts forever. This is not a selfie snapshot that you take. These are strategies and mindset shifts and things that you get to implement and practice that become who you really are. And that's what we're creating in the nest. If you are interested, let me freaking know because doors are closing very soon. amycapello.com/nest. Send me an email, info@amycapello.com. Fill out the application, do whatever it is. Let me know that you exist so that we can talk about whether or not this is the right time and the right place for you to be in a community of women to help develop these skills. All right, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. I hope you have a good one. We're going to continue to drop some truth bombs. I'll talk to you then.